Hey internets, it's Jake from Mini Terrain Domain, and this is not D&D. This is the return of our Call of Cthulhu Mythos Investigators. After taking pretty much the entire summer off, I think it's been like 5 months or so since we wrapped our last game. But just like we were telling everybody back then when we were finishing up, I believe Tomb of the Mummy Lord was the last one that we ran.
Yes.
That our next keeper.
Sorry, Silent Sky, I think was our last one.
Oh yes, you're right. Silent Sky was the last one. But as we said, our next keeper would be none other than Cari. And in just a couple of moments, I'm going to turn it over to Cari. A couple of quick announcements before we get going with this game. First off, we want to welcome Gary to the Mythos Investigators. Very excited to have Gary join us here. No stranger to MTD. And one of my secret goals is just to witness Gary scream like he does in Phasmo at some point. Even if I have to pay somebody at his home to give him a jump scare.
Where do we contribute? Where's the Ko-Fi for that?
I was just gonna say,
right. We just
People
got
are monsters.
We just got a sub from Fluffy. Hello, Fluffy, and thank you. Which is a great time to remind everybody that, like all of our Mini Terrain Domain games, we have domain dice in play. Except in this game, they are called Mythos dice. And they work in a similar way because that subscription, like magic, one materializes. For now, the instructions on how those work, you can type !domain dice or look at the rules as they pop up below. We're using them a little bit differently. Cari wanted to use them, but incorporate them in a way that we are familiar, where we can use one Mythos die to reroll, or for advantage, 3 to reroll, or 5 to make the keeper reroll. So that's what we're going to roll with for now. Of course, you can give us more Mythos dice by tipping $5, subs, gifting subs, cheering 500 bits, all that good stuff. The other thing about this game that I want to mention to everybody is that we are playing Call of Cthulhu, which is by its very nature a bit of a darker system. And we have had conversations, and we use safety tools here at Mini Terrain Domain, and we have things in place for ourselves as players should things get a little dicey. But we want you, the viewers, to know that in this game, the content will definitely be adult oriented in terms of language, violence, and other things. And this may not be for you. And that's fine. If you want to check out one of our many other games over on youtube.com/miniterraindomain, or check out another stream on Twitch, we encourage you to do so. But please know that we have our own safety tools in place to keep ourselves protected while we're playing these games. The last thing I want to mention before I turn things over to our keeper is just a reminder that you matter. Your presence here on this earth makes a difference. Whether or not you believe it, it's true. That's why we talk about it before every game. We realize that you could be struggling for any number of reasons. First off, it is okay to not be okay. But you do not need to struggle alone. That is why we've made it so that you can come here into our chat at any time and type !help, and you will see some URLs pop up. Most importantly is findahelpline.com. That is a free resource. Click on that, save that bookmark that site for yourself, save it for a friend, and remember, you matter. With that, I think it's time to turn things over to our new keeper, Cari. Cari, it's your show.
Gosh. First of all, thank you guys all for being here. If Jake didn't say it already, this is my first time running like anything private or streamed, so I'm really excited to share with you guys what I've got for you here. So without any further ado, I'm just going to jump into my little introduction here. I tried to edit it as much as I could, but indulge me. Are we echoey? Am I echoey?
No? What?
Thank God. Thank God. Dwight's giving me a hard time. No, it's fine. It's fine. Here we go. The year is 1885. The town of Brokenbranch is medium-sized and slowly growing. Until recently, it was settled in a territory that did not have a name, west of the massive swath that had previously belonged to France. Not too far back now, this lawless wild land became part of the budding nation, slowly devouring the frontier, and what was formerly an independent republic became known simply as Texas. Along with the annexation have come many boons for the town of Brokenbranch: opportunity, industry, expansion, but it has also brought less favorable effects as well: taxation, overpopulation, and, depending on who you talk to, the law. The town of Brokenbranch has not gone entirely quietly into this new era, but little by little it grows, and the last vestiges of the old untamed West have begun to fade into the forgotten mists. Several mines have been opened, yielding all types of precious metals and ores, and, if the rumors are true, something else. With the expansion of the mining industry has also come a wildly diverse influx of people. There are soldiers, farmers, gamblers, drinkers, charlatans selling all manner of snake oils and salves, young women and men looking to carve themselves a life. There have come lovers and fighters, givers and takers, and for one reason or another, all of you. The town of Brokenbranch is quickly becoming quite the hub, and it boasts several local businesses: Eberhardt's General Store, Wilhelm's Gunsmith and Munitions, Dr. Voss's medical practice, the Ramirez family clothiers, and of course, Sheriff Comley trying to hold it all together. But of all the establishments in Brokenbranch, none are so buzzing and popular as Miss Loraine's, the local saloon. Miss Loraine's has been a focal point of the town and even neighboring towns for as long as you can remember. It is a massive building with all manner of diversions. Anything and everything a person could do to distract from life's labors can be found at Miss Loraine's. Music from a piano can be heard down the street, as can the incessant shouting of Reverend Wanamaker and his son, Wayman Jr. He is as much of a fixture in the town as Miss Loraine herself, standing at the front door lamenting the sins of the world and the sinners who frequent the bustling saloon. All of you have been specifically invited by Miss Loraine to attend tonight's festivities, and because it's Miss Loraine herself doing the asking, you don't dare say no. We open on Brokenbranch. It's an afternoon. It's bustling. It's busy. And as most good Westerns, we open up on a cowboy. Dwight, would you please describe your character and what you're doing this afternoon?
So you see 40-something haggard-looking cowboy, kind of slumped over on the saddle horn of his horse as he rides into town. He's got some straw dangling out one corner of his mouth. He's kind of looking around as the horse trots in. It's covered in dust. Looks like he's been on the trail for days, if not weeks. But that's not really a sight that's unfamiliar to this area anyways. But he comes in on the edge of town, and he reaches into his vest and pulls out a piece of paper and looks at it and then tucks it back in. And he catches, looks up at there's a kid on the porch of a building as he rides into the edge of town. Hey boy, I'm looking for Miss Loraine. Whereabouts would I find her?
You're looking for Miss Loraine's? You must be new.
Yeah, I think I've been through a couple times, but I ain't never stopped before. So,
and this little kid who kind of puffs his chest out at you. He's really, really skinny, dirtier than you, which is really saying something. He kind of like leans back on the post that he is standing near, and he's like, "Yeah, I can tell you where Miss Loraine's is for a nickel."
Hey, tell you what, I'll cut you cards for it. You beat me, I'll give you a dime. I beat
And
you, you just give me what I want to know.
this kid smiles, and out of seemingly nowhere, he produces a deck of cards, and he
No,
just like holds.
I don't think so there, son. We'll play with mine. And I reach into my saddlebag and I pull out a deck of cards.
And he looks at you like he's been kind of caught with his hand in the cookie jar, and puts his cards away and looks at yours and says, "Am I doing the cutting or are you?"
I'll shuffle the cards a bit. Yeah, cut away.
And he would take them, and as he puts his hand on them, he kind of gives you like one little like right in the palm of your hand, and then takes half of the deck off.
And then I'll move it so he can set it back.
And he does.
How you want to do this card draw?
So I'm gonna say let's say, how about you go with a, oh my gosh, we're rolling already. How about you go with a gambling check? Why not?
Okay.
Go ahead and make a gambling check. We're gonna say you need any success.
That is going to be a 29, which will be a success on my 45 score.
A
So
very good success. And this kid realizes he's been beat pretty handily, and he kind of laughs, and he's like, "Well, I guess I'll have to scam the next schmuck." And he takes you by the forearm and literally just turns you around. And across the street from where you are right now, you see a gigantic, decorated, gorgeous sign. Much nicer than the surrounding signs, much nicer even than the whole town surrounding it, that says Miss Loraine's.
well, would you look at that? It's almost like I wasn't paying attention and I rode in town, but I do thank you, young man. Tell you what, you keep these, and I'll reach out and with the deck of cards, and it's got a nickel sitting on top of it.
Oh. And this little kid would take it, and he's like, "Well, thanks, mister. Good luck. And if you need to find anything else, you just let me know. I'm always short on nickels." And he kind of runs off, kind of excitedly, to another group of little kids, and kind of saying like, "Look what I got! Look what I got!" And side note, I am hearing an echo now too. I wonder if it's somebody's headphones. But anywho, among this group of kids, you see a woman who is sitting on a bench nearby, and these little kids have gathered by her and are kind of all talking at her all at once, and she seems to just trying to relax. Kaeryn, would you please describe your character?
So sitting there trying very hard to, ignore the children around her at this moment. School is done. It's my time now. Is this woman with fiery red hair tied back in a very loose bun. She's practically dressed. She's got one of those, farm dresses on over top, like the shift over top of the white linen. Very practical leather boots, woman's style with a very low heel for this dirty streets that we find ourselves in. And she is playing with an apple that she received this morning at school, let in. It was, she's kind of like, just kind of tossing it, not tossing it around. She's just kind of looking at it, kind of moving it from side to side. And she's got kind of this distracted look on her face as she's thinking back to the morning when all the kids were piling into the school and they were all boisterously saying, "Hello, Mrs. Williams," and dropping stuff on her desk. And as the last children sat down, and she looks at her desk with the array of apples that she has received, one of them, the one she is now holding, had a note kind of pinned to it. And which is odd because the lady from whom the note is from doesn't have any children.
And you see this kid come up. Mrs. Williams, Mrs. Williams, Mrs. Williams, look over there. You see that guy? He just came into town. He's all dirty and gross, and he looks like a cowboy. He looks like a big tough cowboy. Look at him, and look what he gave me. He gave me a deck of cards, and he gave me a whole nickel. Kaeryn, you're muted.
I think it would help if I'm not muted. Colin,
I can't hear you. I'm so excited.
slow down. What have I said about calling strangers vile and evil things? You don't even know that man. Why are you judging him? He's had a hard ride. Of course he's dirty.
Well, I know he's dirty, but he Mrs. Williams, he couldn't find Miss Loraine's. He couldn't find Miss Loraine's saloon. And so when I told him, I said I would tell him where it was if he would give me a nickel. And he did. He did. Can you believe it?
Well, yes, I can, but Colin, why are you trying to get money out of strangers for things that of course they can see themselves? Are you trying to trick him? I have taught you better than that.
And this kid at this time, kind of like, he has seemed very excited and just effervescent almost with this mood that he's in. And upon Mrs. Williams kind of scolding him, you sort of just see him deflate and you see his shoulders slump and he kind of kicks a rock. And he's like, "Yes, Mrs. Williams." And he kind of like hides the nickel in his pocket.
But did you help him at least?
Yeah, I told him where it was.
Very good. That was quite nice of you.
Yeah. And as this sweet conversation kind of reaches its close, you all hear a strange whirring sound that is kind of foreign to Brokenbranch. A few of you have probably heard it in your lifetime, but you have certainly not heard it recently. And it gets louder and more close. And for the audience watching, you would realize this is the sound of a motor. You hear a motor car, which has just recently come onto the scene. And these little kids that have been surrounding Mrs. Williams are turning and pointing and elbowing each other and looking at this thing. And this car stops almost in the middle of the street because it's not like there's many other cars around for it to run into. It's not an issue if it parks in the street. And out of this car steps a man who looks way too well dressed for Brokenbranch. Gary, would you please describe your character?
So a man steps out of the car and he's wearing a leather duster. And beneath it, he's wearing a very finely tailored vest. He's wearing pants that wouldn't be out of place in New York, but he is wearing boots. He glances around for a moment, taking an eye to all of the people, making a mental note of who's where, and he heads over to the telegraph office immediately.
As soon as he steps away from this motor car, these little kids, almost moving like a flock of birds, just go and descend upon this vehicle and are looking at the tires and looking underneath it and climbing all over it and looking at the seat and poking at it and just enamored by this vehicle. And as this very well-dressed man walks towards the telegraph office and into the telegraph office, we see an older man just kind of sitting on this extended porch, this kind of unified porch that all of the buildings in Brokenbranch kind of share. He's leaning back in a chair and just sort of seemingly watching this whole scene. Jake, would you please describe your character?
You see a horse trough out in front of the saloon, and you see a mule that is lapping at the water, the dusty water in the horse trough. And as we sort of pan around the front side of this mule's face, we see the rest of the trough as all of a sudden my head just comes up out of the water and you just see soaking wet white gray hair, water creating this almost muddiness on my face from the dust. My shirt and jacket are off and sort of over the back of the mule. But I have on my my long sleeve undershirt, but the straps of my suspenders are pulled down to the sides as I pushing the water back from my hair and scooping some more water up, and just playfully take some of the wetness on my hands and just sprinkle it at the mule for a moment, kind of turning around and looking at the street. My head was underwater when the car pulled up, so I'm a little surprised to see it. As I grab my shirt and start pulling it on, buttoning it up, I look over at the mule and say, "Well, now, you don't see one of them gewgaws every day now, do you, Eleanor? Don't worry, it's just the one, as far as I can see. I don't reckon you gotta worry about anything giving you too much of a start, but I'll keep my eye out, Eleanor." And as I kind of button up my shirt and tuck in the tails, pull the suspenders up, I scoop some more water up out of the trough and just give a run across my beard and take a little bit into my mouth, swish it around, and spit it back into the trough. Now, I reckon, Eleanor, I'm a bit more presentable for this Miss Loraine. As I pull the jacket on, this is a very threadbare. I don't know if it would even pass so much for a sport coat, as it's more of like a almost like a jacket you might see somebody who works on a railroad or something like that. Elbow patches, but not because of anything scholarly. These are legitimately to patch holes. But tucked inside the inside pocket is this piece of paper. I just checked to make sure it's still there. Oh shoot! I almost forgot, Eleanor. And I walk over to one of the pockets on the saddlebags, and there's a lot of gear piled up on this mule. Things like shovels and pickaxes and camping gear. And I reach down inside one of the smaller pockets and I pull out a mostly white handkerchief, and I unfold it, and inside is a bolo tie. As I put it on over my head and kind of push it up, and it's got a little piece of black opalite, I guess, or opal, in this as a stone in the little triangular piece of silver. I tighten it up, and then I take the mostly white handkerchief and I just sort of tuck it into the pocket. It's not folded. It's just a crumpled handkerchief sticking in there. And I give old Eleanor a pat on the haunch and say, "All right, keep an eye on things out here on the street. I have business to tend to. As I straighten up and head up towards the saloon.
And as this man walks by towards the saloon, we as the audience hear a much more familiar sound, a much more in place sound. And that is the sound of a rattling cart accompanied by the hooves of horses, or a horse. And Alex, would you please introduce your character?
Sure. So you see the sort of big sort of cart with a sort of covered roof over the front, a lantern unlit at the moment hanging over the top. On the side of this sort of dark wooden cart is are these sort of painted murals on both sides that say the amazing Arcanus Black, magic, medicine, mysticism. These beautiful murals that reflect the image of the person driving, who looks exactly like he does in his pictures. Is wearing a dark green sort of velvety looking jacket, a similar vest underneath, a gold chain sort of in between, gold buttons that go up the front. His hair is like a deep sort of auburn red, and he has these startlingly blue eyes that if you saw someone today with those, you'd automatically assume that they were lenses of some kind. No one could have eyes this blue. And he's kind of smiling with this big bright bright grin, waving at some of the kids as he goes by. And you're seeing these two large dark horses that are both a team of two of them pulling this cart along. And additionally, sort of hanging along from the side there, you see these bottles sort of like tinking together, hanging from strings, and kind of rattling as he sort of goes by. And he says, "You there, son?" To one of the kids.
A different kid than before, but archetypally pretty much the same kid, because they're all faceless, nameless people. This kid looks up at you and is like, "Yeah?
Do you like magic, son?"
Well, yeah, I guess. Why?" He narrows his
Excellent.
eyes at you.
And he takes out some flyers. He says, "Tell you what, I'll give you 50 cents to start passing out these flyers everywhere you possibly can, everywhere, to all your friends. Hang them on walls. Hand them to adults that you can find, any place you can. And if you come back with empty hands, and I start seeing some of these around, you'll get a shiny and a couple more shiny coins to go with those."
And this kid's eyes just light up. And this kid actually looks over to the original little boy, Colin, and almost gets this gleam of competition in his eyes. And he's like, yeah, I can hand out all those pieces of paper. And just kind of puts out his hands.
And when the coins, he first kind of shows his hands, and then just sort of plucks the one coin out of the air, just 1, 2, just out of thin air, and hands them to him.
Wow. And he takes them, and he looks at him for a second, almost like he's worried they're not real. And then he's just like, and then just like puts them in his pocket. He's like,
yeah, he gives him a big broad wink and says, "Go on now."
And he runs off at.
And meanwhile, he's already started turning and
speed.
smiling at someone else and waving, as if everyone should know him here, even if they don't.
Yeah.
He's just sort of like, waving people.
Suddenly, a few of the kids pay more attention to Arcanus than this motor car, which is parked in the street, and that's really saying something.
But he looks at the building and he sees his destination and pulls the cart over, maybe down a little sort of side thing, and gets out. It hits the ground. He's got beautiful boots, fair sized heel on it. No firearms that are visible. That doesn't seem armed at all. And he just sort of quickly sort of shakes his hair out, takes a little brush, takes some dust off, and straightens himself and begins heading around over toward the front of this establishment.
Awesome. So as these people kind of start to, go about their business, some of them making their way to Miss Loraine's, some of them apparently trying to find Miss Loraine's, we actually rejoin Moses Jones in the telegraph office. And you see kind of a grizzled older dude at the counter, just kind of going about his business as Moses Jones steps up to the counter as it is his turn.
Jones. First name Moses.
This man ignores you.
Jones.
Or at least seems to.
First name Moses.
Hey, what's that?
Jones. First name Moses.
Ah, yeah, Jones, Moses Jones. Moses Jones, right?
That's what I said, yes.
Yeah, oh, Moses Jones, of course. And he goes over to a box that is sitting behind him that is just packed from front to back with what looks like envelopes. And he starts going through it. He's like, Moses Jones, when this one came in, I knew it was going to be a unique name and I knew I would remember it. I got a steel trap. My wife doesn't think so, of course, but I doubt most wives do. And he's just going through it as like, just his fingers are a blur as he's going through it. And he's like, yeah, Miss Moses Jones. And he goes, oh, from Miss Loraine. And he hands it to you almost, he has just kind of been making conversation nonchalantly, but as soon as he sees the name on the bottom of this telegram, he almost stiffens as he hands it to you. And as soon as your hand is on it, he takes his hand back, almost as though it's like electrified.
He raises his eyebrows slightly and he says, recognize the name?
Oh, yeah, everybody recognizes the name. That's Loraine Schuler. She's Miss Loraine. And she doesn't own the town, but all but, if you know what I'm saying.
Yes, I take your meaning completely. Let me ask you, how did Miss Loraine become Miss Loraine?
I can't say. She's been here as long as I've been here, it seems like long as anybody's been here. She's just always had the saloon and I mean, she ain't a criminal or nothing. And he kind of like looks down at your clothes and kind of starts to like wonder why you're asking all these questions. He's like, she's a real nice lady. You'd like her. She just, she damn near owns Brokenbranch. So, why don't you stay on a good side, if I were you?
But you're not me.
And he kind of like puffs his chest out. And he's like, well, mister, I didn't mean to cause any offense. I was just trying to make conversation.
Yes. Yes, indeed. And he's going to turn and walk away.
As he's turning, this guy kind of like narrows his eyes and shakes his head. And he's like, some people can't be friendly anymore, prick. And then just kind of goes back about his work. And so the rest of this day, unless there is anything, is there anything anybody would want to do during the day? As Mr. Jones leaves the telegraph office, we as the audience get a glimpse of this telegraph that he has been sent. And what it says is, you are cordially invited to Miss Loraine's saloon this Wednesday evening for a meeting with myself and other similarly capable individuals. One of my interests will be of your interest. You will not want to miss this meeting. With eager anticipation, Miss Loraine Schuler. Today is Wednesday. It is about, I'd say 3 o'clock in the afternoon, maybe 4 o'clock, as Mrs. Williams said school is out for the day. And if there's nothing you all would like to do in town, we can fast forward to tonight. Is there anything anyone would like to do in
No,
town?
that's, yeah. I mean, if you give us a chance to take a side quest, and go do something.
Never mind.
yeah.
It's
Is there
nighttime now. No,
is
I'm
there
just
a
kidding.
bakery? Is there
Yeah.
a place that, maybe
No,
some place
there's
that
not.
sells
There's
is there
no
a place
businesses
that
here.
sells
I have
maybe
a
they
bunch of
sell
apples.
Yeah. No,
You
I
guys
think
are
the
welcome
other
to
thing is
explore, though. Seriously.
Arcanus was actually just going to go into the saloon,
Okay.
and he was going to pretty much spend the time there,
Okay.
doing tricks, sort of stirring up business,
Sure.
kind of getting people's interest, whetting their appetite for it, and so forth. Although if he does see Miss Williams on the way, he may stop and say and offer to buy her a drink. Such a lovely lady shouldn't be just sitting out here, and clearly that apple is not doing you any good. Because, well, here I am, Dr. Arcanus Black.
The apple did not keep the doctor away, I see.
You hear right behind you the saloon door swing open, and I'm like, well, that's Doctor. I feel like I've heard that name before. Have we run into each other on the road?
It's quite possible. I'm rather famous in these parts. I provide medicine for the infirm. But
Oh, you're
also,
the snake oil salesman. That's right. I do remember you. It is good to see you again.
His eyes narrow slightly, but his smile wavers not at all. And he says, well, I'm sure he must have me confused with someone else in that case. I sell nothing of the kind.
Oh no,
all of my tinctures and elixirs are 100% guaranteed to do what I say they do.
Well, you see, in my days before ranching, I worked with I was a Texas Ranger, and I'm almost positive that my partner and I ran you out of Amarillo some 10, 12 years ago. But I'm getting old. I may be
Amarillo.
remembering.
Is that in Nebraska? Because I've never been to Nebraska.
Yeah, well, it's neither here nor there at this point. Doctor, right. Can I buy you a drink?
Well, I was about to buy this young lady here a drink, so why don't we all go in and sit at a table and have some conversation?
Wonderful.
Is there a poker game or a blackjack table or anything like that in here?
So good question. Not yet. It's
Okay.
still a little early for the real fun to start. But it's probably getting around 5:00. You would notice that the bar right now it's not empty because it's almost never empty, but it is emptier than it usually is than when it really, really kicks up.
So I just
notice
look
a
around.
poker table, but nobody's at it.
Yeah, I look around for a minute. Well, normally I would sit down for a game, but it appears there isn't one. So I have somewhere to be in a couple of hours. Why don't I take you up on that drink offer? And ma'am, and I'll tip my hat to Cassidy.
Oh my God,
Miss Cassidy, and he puts his hand out for yours.
She looks at the hand and places the apple minus the invitation on it.
Okay.
And then sits.
He smiles and picks it up and gently kisses the apple. And his long, sort of, heavily waxed mustache sticking way out on either side of it. And he hands it back to you, says, from me to you.
oh my God.
And he'll follow Augustus into the saloon.
She stands there a moment looking at the apple, kind of really not sure how like what just happened here, kind of thing, before following both of them into the saloon.
As the doors kind of go, Moses and Chick, what are you guys doing?
I imagine Chick. I am already inside the saloon at a table against the wall, and I have a drink in front of me, and because it's so quiet in here, I'm just looking over top of the doors where this little exchange is taking place of these folks, and just taking it all in as they come in, and I just take another sip of my bourbon.
Awesome. Gary.
Moses will stride confidently toward Miss Loraine's, never having been here before, but his senses are finely tuned, and he recognizes the hub of activity in Brokenbranch immediately.
As you step up to the door, a gentleman dressed all in black grabs you and he's like, "Son, you are not going into that establishment, are you? The Lord above has come down upon this establishment with all of his righteous fury. Young man, do not go into that if you value your soul." And there's a little kid next to him. This man is, like I said, dressed all in black, and he is holding what is clearly a Bible. And there's a little kid with him, like nodding emphatically, and also dressed mostly in black.
He's going to glance down at the man's hand on his person, and he's going to say, "I won't ask you to take your hand off me again."
Well, rest assured, son, I meant no offense. All I'm saying is that I value your soul, and I hope that you value it as well. And the little kid says, "We hope that you value it as well." And this man is bearded and spectacled, and he says, "People come in here and they leave, and let me tell you, I see them leave their very souls inside. This is a house of ill repute. Inside, women give themselves away to men. They have liquor, they have gambling, every vice that is known to man. And men leave their souls behind, sir. You are not going into this building, are you?"
The dust returns to the ground it came from, and the spirit returns to God who gave it.
Well, a man of God, I see. Well then, maybe you can head on in there and bring out some of them sinners. I saw a few of them go in ahead of you. And by God, I even saw that young school teacher going in there with all them men. Oh, I do not know for the sake of our society, sir.
He is going to clap his jacket once, and he's going to glance at the preacher, and he's going to say, "It's not my job to save their souls. It's yours." And as he's about to cross the threshold, he looks down and mutters almost too quiet for anybody to hear, but the preacher might be able to hear because he's right beside him. And he says, "I have been a stranger in a foreign land." And he's going to push himself through the doors. His eyes are going to immediately scan through the crowd. He's going to take in everybody he thinks might have a weapon. And he is going to settle himself down in a corner, glancing down at a pocket watch he pulls out of his vest pocket, and then he puts it back, and he's going to rest his hand gently on his hip while he scans the room.
And you scan the room, and one by one you see Chick, and you see Augustus, and you see Cassidy, and you see Arcane, and that's pretty much where you sit for a few hours. And as
do I notice it? Do I maybe notice him scanning the room?
Oh, I apologize. Go ahead and make a spot hidden.
All right. We get to.
Yep, just to notice people coming in and notice him specifically looking.
That's a regular success.
Okay, so I'm gonna say that you notice him come in. You notice that his attire is more or less out of place. You maybe don't notice him being as eagle-eyed as you.
Yeah, because as he's looking for firearms and weapons, Arcanus is looking for people who might have money.
Ah, okay. That's good. And
So
I will say
they're both doing the same thing, but looking for different things.
correct. And I would say that with your success, you would definitely at least pick up that that Officer Jones here has at least enough money to buy these clothes.
Right.
And before we kind of flash forward, is there anything else anybody would like to do during the afternoon in this boring bar? Super duper. In that case, Moses, you do sit, and I would almost imagine this is kind of like a time lapse. And we see these people, these happenstance comrades just going about their business in this saloon as it begins to fill up. And you would think that based on the size of the town of Brokenbranch, almost everybody in town is here. Obviously, the kids are nowhere to be seen, which is great, but you can still hear Reverend Wanamaker outside getting louder by the hour. And you start to see a bunch of, well, let me just tell you what you see. The saloon is especially busy tonight. The smell of pipes and cigarettes hangs pleasantly in the air. People are laughing and singing and cursing their luck at a wide variety of games offered inside. Darts, dice, billiards, cards, arm wrestling, and even five-finger fillet are a nightly occurrence here. People of all stripes roam the massive saloon, several wearing what looks like mining coveralls, hastily labeled Schuler Silver Mine. The saloon is gorgeous as saloons go. All of the wood is polished and carved with decorations. The bar itself is very notable, as it is made of white marble with silver inlay. The dangling lights over the bar make the thing nearly glow in this dim space, and it seems to draw patrons to it like a moth to a flame. Miss Loraine stocks a wide variety of liquor, tobacco, and the best hot meals for 100 miles. Wandering about the saloon are also purveyors of quality company, also arguably the best for 100 miles. Miss Loraine's is almost never empty, especially at this time, when food and drink tastes better and music is just a bit sweeter. And tonight is no exception. So as the bar fills up, people are having a great time. It is a wonderful night here in the bar. You hear a small uproar over nearby the entrance. And as you look over that way, you would see a woman come in. And you can just barely see because there's quite a crowd. But as much as you can see is that she is a very pretty woman. She has bright red hair. And that's about all you can see of this woman for now. But people seem to be greeting her almost like she's a celebrity. What do you all do?
Well, Arcanus recognizes someone of standing in the community, clearly. And those are the people that he wants to get friendly with. So he sort of plans an encounter with her. Like he's in his mind, he's sort of calculating where she's probably going, and he's going to plan to get up and go to the bar at the same time, so he can sort of arrange that intersection of meeting. And he's sort of watching, even as he's talking to these guys, and still doing another one of his tricks where he has, he's taking a billiard ball without someone noticing, and he's he just sort of makes it vanish in the air, and then pulls it out from Augustus's pocket, that kind of thing. Oh, you don't want to be taking these. That would be theft. And and he'll put it back on the table nearby. But yeah, he'll try to arrange to intersect with her.
There is a woman who is just standing there with the pool cue, looking very unamused. What are the rest of you up to?
I too have been planning encounters with several different women I've seen within this place. But seeing the great expense that has gone into the bar of this place, I can only imagine the great expense that would go into the women of this place.
Mm-hmm.
So I choose to spend the money I have on bourbon, because thinking about encounters, while not as enjoyable, is certainly cheaper.
It is indeed much cheaper. Cassidy, what are you up to?
I think she's been sitting there listening, as Arcanus has been regaling probably with stories as well as tricks and stuff. And I almost imagine this entire time she's just like she's humoring him. She's letting him talk and keep entertaining this, if you will. And I almost imagine that he's literally in the middle of a sentence of a story that he's regaling when he stands up to do whatever he's doing to meet this woman. And she's just like,
Okay.
turns to Arcanus and, tilts her head and kind of shrugs.
Dwight and Gary, what are you guys up to?
Gus is just sitting. He's swung around in his chair or stool, and it's just sipping on a whiskey and keeping an eye on the room.
All right. Moses Jones. First name Moses.
Moses has relaxed slightly, no longer has his hand on his hip, but he notes the presence of the woman with the red hair entering. And he is going to try and understand how people are reacting to her. He assumes that this is Miss Loraine, but based on how everybody else is reacting, can I make a psychology check to see if I can confirm that this is how people are reacting and to make that assumption?
Absolutely. Go ahead.
All right. Well, I got a 2. So I succeeded.
So you can definitely tell the way people are treating this woman. It's almost like depictions we have seen of like Jesus. As she's walking through and people are like reaching out and just to like touch her shoulder, and like it's remarkable how she is. It's more than a celebrity. It's more than the owner of this bar. She is clearly just a major fixture, not only in this bar, but in this community. And you can definitely 1000% accurately tell that this is indeed Miss Loraine. And we're going to say at this time, this is when Mr. Black makes his intersection with this woman. You see that she's heading, actually, surprisingly almost, she's heading to the bar.
Mm-hmm.
And she's looking like she's going to make her way behind the bar.
Yeah. So as soon as he sees her sort of heading for behind the bar, he'll just sort of get up to the bar, put one leg up, put his arm forward, and put his empty glass down. He says, "Pardon me, miss."
And this woman, who almost seemed to float, not walk, through this crowd, has almost immediately transformed into a working woman. She's not only behind the bar to oversee operations, she's working. She's serving people drinks. By the time you get to her and say, "Excuse me, miss," she's already cleaning a couple glasses. And she says, "Yeah, and as soon as she sees you, she's like, Mr. Arcanus Black."
Why,
And she just smiles.
Miss Loraine Schuler.
I was hoping you'd get my message. I sent it pretty recently. I wasn't
did.
sure I'd get to
That was clever. I don't normally receive messages that way.
Well,
It
with a
was
man like
quite
you,
pleasant.
one has to get creative. And without even you asking for it, she would look at your glass, almost imperceptibly run it under her nose, and serve you one more of whatever you were drinking.
All right. He slides it back and fishes out a coin and puts it down. Says, "I gather this is your establishment. This is quite a place you have here." I'm not sure I'm not sure what this business is about, but but afterwards, if you wouldn't mind, I'd I would certainly love to maybe entertain your crowd at some point. I do that for a living, you see, and um, this is although I have my own modest accommodations, this place is quite astonishing.
And she would smile, and at this point she would set this glass down and she would kind of put this rag over her shoulder and she would just lean forward and she would say, "You are the best talker I have ever met. By all, by all means, I am going to meet with you and several others. I'm sure they'll be around here somewhere. But not until later, not until after we close.
Oh, no.
Unfortunately, I do have
Of course.
customers.
Pardon me. I don't mean to interfere with your work, but
Not at all.
I simply wanted to introduce myself and
Believe me,
make my
Mr.
acquaintance.
Black, I know everything there is to know about you. That's why I sent you that telegram.
Well,
In the meantime, before our meeting,
only
please
half of
avail
it. Only
yourself-
half of it is true.
I'm sure it's the good
About
half,
half.
knowing you. Please, in the meantime, before our meeting, avail yourself of drinks, games, and I would nod over at one. She would nod over at one girl in particular, walking around the rooms, like other entertainments, and she would give you a wink.
Yeah, he winks back and takes the drink and gives her a nod and heads back to the table with his companions.
And Miss Loraine kind of just goes about her work. It is going to be a while before she's going to be able to meet with any of you. Not that you guys know, so you are all welcome to do whatever you would like. If it's meeting with her, or if it's whatever you would like to do in this bar. There's games, there's drinks, there's other entertainments.
Did you say you were a card man, Mr. Augustus? Or sorry, what was it, Mr. Call?
You can call me Gus. It's we seem to have become friends in the last hour or so. But yes, I do dabble in card sharpery. So
Well, I do as well. Would you like to join me for a friendly game? We can maybe join one of these tables over here if we yeah.
Well, I've been eyeing this one over here, and well, let's just say appears to be a target-rich environment. So, shall we?
You see a broad smile across his face, like all right, a man who knows how to play. I like it. Let's go do that. Miss, are you? Or would you like to join us, or have you reached your limit?
I do not play cards.
Oh, no. I wouldn't assume that a lovely woman like you would partake in such a male thing, but certainly you could perhaps give us some luck.
She just kind of looks at you, raises an eyebrow, and very well. Lead the way.
But he puts his arm out.
And this time she will take it.
Okay. He's very polite about it. But yeah, he'll go follow Gus over to the table.
Amazing. So you guys make your way over to a poker table, and where you would almost expect in a bar like this them to be playing some kind of fancier kind of poker. They're actually playing 5-card stud. Okay, like, so the most basic of the basic of the basic. Everybody knows how to play, and because of that, maybe it was strategic on Miss Lorraine's part. Everybody knows how to play, and so more people play. So
it's a classic for a reason.
Absolutely. There's a woman sitting there at the table. You get the idea that maybe she works here. And she is sitting there shuffling the cards. She's wearing a very wide brimmed hat. And underneath the hat, that you can see that she has most of the right side of her face is covered in burn scars. And she kind of almost wears her hat tilted that way in kind of a last-ditch attempt at vanity. And as she's smoking a cigarette, and as you two come up, and she goes, "You two interested in cards?"
In fact, we are, yes.
And she kind of nods at Cassidy and is like, What about you?
Well, I don't think I'd have walked over here if I wouldn't. So if you don't mind, I'll have a seat.
Pull up a chair.
Miss?
I'm just here to watch.
And she kind of rolls her eyes. She's like, women never want to play. And she just kind of starts almost mechanically, all business, starts shuffling the cards. She's like, 5 card stud, 2 draw. Got to keep one in your hand. Any questions?
No, I don't.
She deals honestly. She thunks the cards closer to her, but more into the middle of the table. And I'm going to have you both make a gambling check.
Okay. At the moment, Arcanus is sort of off the clock, so he's got to play legit at the moment.
That is an extreme success with a 5.
Nice.
Phenomenal.
Regular success.
Okay. So this woman kind of looks at her hand and she kind of like raises her eyebrows. And the rest of this hand sort of progresses. You would see her throw 3 cards into this like farmer's pile in the middle. She draws 3 for herself off the top. And she would kind of look at you, Gus, and give you however many, and Arcanus, the same thing. And at the end, she kind of like has a smile on her face. And she would lay down a full house, which is obviously a pretty good hand.
Yeah.
And then she would kind of like look first at you, Arcanus, and like,
Yeah, he knows he lost, and so he just sort of flips over. Not my night, and he slides him over.
and then she kind of like is feeling pretty confident at this point and looks over at Gus.
Oh my! Well, that is quite a hand you got there. I mean, for the first hand you dealt after I sat down, that is quite the hand. I
Calling
wish
me
I
a
hadn't. No, not at all. I'm just saying I wish I had not bet this money that I have in the pot, because I wish I'd bet more, and I'll lay out a straight flush.
And for the first time since you've sat down, this woman seems put back on her heels. And then she just sort of like sits back in her chair kind of slowly and is like, well, every dog has his day, I guess. And she would slide you the chips that have been put into the pot. And Gus, you have just won $15. I'm gonna have you both go ahead. Oh yeah, you play rich here at Miss Loraine's. I'm gonna have Gus, Cassidy, and Arcanus go ahead and make a spot hidden check for me.
It's 35. Regular success.
Regular success. Yep.
Regular success as well.
Okay. So you would notice, because it's pretty pronounced, all of a sudden, a little kid, Colin, runs over to this woman. And this woman kind of leans back and whispers something to Colin. And Colin runs off. And then that's all you notice. And let's see, Moses Jones and Chick, what are you guys up to?
So Moses is going to walk up to the bar, and he's going to wait to get Miss Loraine's attention. And when he does, he's going to slide the telegram across the bar without a word.
Mm-hmm. And as soon as she sees you do this, she would quickly but smoothly, everything she does seems to be intentional, whether it's cleaning these glasses or serving the patrons or winking at people. It's all very calculated and planned. So she snatches this telegraph pretty smoothly, and she would look at you and she would go, first name Moses, last name Jones. Welcome to Miss Loraine's.
Unclear whether or not I should thank you.
And she would kind of smile and she's like, a man, a few words. And then she would nod over it to where Arcanus is playing poker, and she would say, on average, I think you two ought to do well. Today, I invited you for something that you definitely will thank me for.
And as she's talking to him, said, Pythagoras once said, better to say a lot in few words than a little in many.
An educated man. That's good. That's one of the reasons I invited you. I'm going to tell you the same thing I told Mr. Black. I'm going to meet with y'all at some point, probably after most of these chuckleheads have gone. So we're going to be probably around last calls at 1:30, around 2 o'clock. In the meantime, there's plenty of entertainments, though you don't seem to be a easily entertained man.
He's going to pull his pocket watch out of his pocket, and he's going to look at the time, and he's like, I don't presume to know why you've summoned me, but since you have, you know that I'm on a schedule.
Believe me, I will get you in and out as quickly as I can.
He's going to put the pocket watch away, and he's going to walk back to the corner, sit down.
And chick. Oh God. Oh my God.
I don't have my matches here, but
if you're still at the bar, are you still at the bar?
I've been at a table by myself.
Okay, never mind.
And I've positioned myself at a table that's near the stairs so I can see all the other entertainment as it's going up and down the stairs, and every so often I watch one of the women walk up the stairs or down the stairs and shake my head, and I toss back a all right. I stand up and I walk outside through the swinging doors, and I step over to the edge and I crouch down next to the trough. I tell you, Miss Eleanor Dumont, it is not easy holding on to the few coins and bits of paper I got in my purse. If you could see what was in there, Eleanor, I tell you, it's enough to make a poor man poor. But I just got to keep reminding myself that there are better things to spend my money on. All right. You continue to keep an eye on the street out here, and I'll kind of take a look around. And I reach over and give Eleanor a scritch on the mane between the ears. All right. Back into the fray. And I go walking back in. This time I do go to the bar. I'm going to need more of that Kentucky's Finest. And I take a glance at the latest woman that's coming down the stairs. Yeah, you better make that a double.
And the time lapse is the bourbon is sat down, and then it fades into several empty glasses, and little by little the bar empties, and Colin is still here, and he comes up to each of you in turn and tugs on a coattail maybe, or just gets your attention somehow, and says, Miss Loraine's ready to meet you, and he takes you and shows you where there is a room in the back. You all sit there for only a few minutes, and Miss Loraine comes in. And she says, well, 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 thank you all for your patience. And she would lean both hands on this table, and she would say, I'm sure you're wondering why I've called you here. And with that, we're going to take our break.
All righty. We are off to a rip-roaring start. We are going to take about a 10-minute break, so please stick around. You're going to want to come in on the back half of this and see what we all get up to. We'll see you in about 10 minutes or so.
Hello, welcome back. So Miss Loraine is standing before you, and she actually lights a cigarette, and you would notice that she does, as tired as a woman this beautiful can look, she looks a little tired, and she now has her sleeves rolled up to the elbows, and she lights a cigarette, and she's like, welcome everyone, I appreciate you all coming at my invitation. Mr. Jones, Miss Williams, Mr. Black, Mr. Calloway, and she would look over at you, Gus, and she would kind of narrow her eyes, and she'd be like, Mr. Was it Call?
Yes, ma'am. Augustus Call. You can call me Gus.
Mr. Call, I did not invite you.
Oh, no. You see, I seem to have found your letter on the person of an outlaw who I ran down and turned in as a member of a posse working with the Texas Rangers.
And you would see her her hand almost imperceptibly start to move near her hip. And she's like, and you just thought you would show up?
Well, I didn't see a name on the invite. I just saw an invite. So
and yet
I
it was
accepted.
not in your pocket. Why did you accept?
It was in,
Arcanus moves his head. He sort of he lifts. He had his arms sort of folded as he was listening. And now he's sort of his taking them out, and he's sort of, he has them now out more like this now, and he's sort of looking back and forth between the two of them as they're talking.
Well, you see, it is in my pocket. It was when I walked in the door, and I was intrigued by the invite itself. The whole part about your interests and my interests would pair up, and I have a lot of interest, so I figured there was a good shot. I would be what you're looking for. So here I am.
Miss Loraine, if I may interject briefly.
You may not. Mr. Call, you said you are a Texas Ranger.
Was a Texas Ranger. Yes, I am a cattle rancher at this point in my life, but yes, many years with the Texas Rangers.
I assume you can still shoot.
Oh, yes, ma'am. I will shoot the hairs off a stuck pig at 80 paces.
Very well. I am overjoyed, sir, that you came to my invitation. Anyway, thank you all for coming. I apologize for the unpleasantness. This was a bit of a surprise, and I'm not a woman who likes surprises. My interest is my mine. I hope you don't mind a bit of wordplay. My silver interest just outside of town, I'm sure you've heard of it, it's Schuler's silver mine. Anyway, biggest mine in the county, and it's about 10 miles out of town. I usually send out about 30 men. They stay out for a month on, month off. Send a man back and forth about every week. The man I sent back in the first week has not returned. Usually, if something happens to a man on the road and he doesn't come back, they send another man. So I would have heard from him about a week ago now. Haven't heard from him neither. So something out there happened. I hope to God it wasn't a collapse. The men were great and everything, but I am obviously very interested in my silver. So I need someone to go out there, see what happened. Hope to God it was something simple, something misunderstanding, but in the event that it wasn't, I need somebody to go out there and I need somebody to take care of it. Whether that means helping any people that are hurt or doing a little investigation, seeing if there was a cave-in, why there was a cave-in. Figure all that out and come back to me. And you lot seem to be capable. Any questions? Of course, I will reward you all for your time.
Seems like an
That was question
overly
number one.
complicated plan for a mere missing man or two, particularly given not all of the people are local to Brokenbranch.
A missing man or two. Moses Jones, you disappoint me. Do you have any idea how large my silver mine is?
Clearly, I don't.
Mr. Jones, I employ 150 men. Each shift is 50. So I could have up to 50 men out there that could be in trouble. And if they are, I would very much like to get them out of it. Like I said, I am willing to pay you for your time. I'm a wealthy woman. Money is really no object. I am more concerned with my interest. Let's say $1,000 each. And I look at everybody as I stand up and take another puff.
I'm sorry. Did you say $1,000 each?
1
Well,
0 0 0 each.
Well, that will entirely fund my retirement. So I am I'm in.
I can't I don't presume to understand all of your motivations behind the choice of this particular group, but for $1,000, I'm willing to take your word on it. That's fine by me.
Mr. Calloway. And she would kind of take the rag off of her shoulder and toss it to you because you've spit up all over her table.
Obliged. I was momentarily taken aback by that. I reckon I know why you reached out to me, and though maybe I'm shooting myself in the foot saying this, why lone prospector where your mind is concerned, as opposed to one of these dandies that pays people like me to prospect our claims for them, people that got more money and more resources.
You want to know why I picked you?
Yeah, if it's not too much, it's not going to put you out too much to say so, and more importantly, as long as it doesn't take anything off the top or bottom of that stack of cash.
And she would smile at you, Chick, and you would get the idea that Miss Loraine is very intentional in everything that she does, in every expression, every wink, there's a reason. But this smile that she gives you is more or less genuine. And she would just smile and say, Mr. Calloway, in my experience, prospectors don't tend to live long. And if they do, they don't tend to keep all of their limbs. So either you are a very lucky man, or you are very, very good at what you do. That's why I picked you.
It ain't got to be an either or. A little bit of both. Being honest. And I will just say, thank you what I perceive or choose to perceive to be a compliment. And you can also take that as my agreeance to the aforementioned contract here.
She would smile and she would look over at you, Cassidy, and be like, Miss Williams,
Miss
teacher
Loraine,
pay is abysmal right now. I understand. My sympathies.
Miss Loraine, I am a school teacher. Why am I here?
Because somebody's got to keep all of these men honest. You and I have a certain persuasion, and you seem to be a good woman, and I trust you. I've seen how you deal with our little ones.
So what? I'm the babysitter.
Certainly not. Being of the female persuasion, you are naturally a nurturer. Am I wrong? You're not the babysitter.
No.
If my men are hurt out there, they're going to need somebody to take care of them. Now, I know you don't have a medical background, but at least, God forbid, any of them are hurt beyond saving. You could at least comfort them at the end.
And I do know my way around stitches and wounds as such, all those children getting in such a way. I guess I do have a little bit of skill, but I'm just curious, why me?
Listen, in the event that these men get into a grand adventure, I want somebody smart enough to come back here and tell people about it, maybe even write about it. For 10% royalties, of course.
Of course.
She would smile, and as she's still maintaining eye contact with you, Cassidy, she would say, first name Moses, last name Jones. I dare say I am feeling your eyes bore into the side of my head.
That's
Is
because I'm
$1,000 not quite enough for you, sir?
$1,000 collectively, and he glances around. 1,000, 2,000, 3,000.
Take your time, son.
For $5,000, you could buy 2 divisions of the president's army for a month. So I question why 5 people are enough to do this job. I wonder if perhaps you're being over generous, and he glances at everyone who jumped at the opportunity as soon as she said $1,000, which makes me question the judgment of my proposed compatriots to not ask questions about why you were being so over generous. It makes me wonder if there isn't something more to this little adventure than you're letting on.
Go ahead and make a psychology check.
That is a 55, so that is a regular success.
Regular success. You would get the idea that Miss Loraine is being very generous here. She's a wealthy woman, but this is for her being very generous. As far as why, you might have your suspicions. She's kind of a suspicious gal in general, but nothing in particular is jumping out at you. You might be suspicious, but you just can't put a finger on why you're suspicious. And she would just sort of sit back and cross her arms and look at you. And she's like, maybe, sir, I don't like the president's men. Maybe I don't like the president. I don't like law coming in and out. And I would give you Gus a little bit of a dirty look. And I would say, I prefer to keep my money in Brokenbranch. And I trust you 5. I picked you intentionally. All of you. Well, almost all of you. Intentionally. Mr. Jones, you are very good at what you do. You are very intelligent. You are an educated man. I expect that if anything horrible has happened out there, you can figure out why. I picked you for a reason, and there is nothing nefarious behind my motives.
Arcanus just sort of leans back in his chair. He's like, well, Mr. Jones, everyone has ulterior motives in everything they do. Even that even that preacher man out there has his own motives
Especially
that he's
that preacher man out there.
that he's unwilling to speak of. It's just some of us are more honest about our dishonesty.
Jones is going to glance over to Arcane Black, and he's going to give him a bit of a cutting look, and he's going to say, "Don't argue about what a good man should be. Be one." Marcus Aurelius said that.
Well, I'm sure he did, but yeah, if I ever meet him, I'll have a discussion with him. But the point is that why?
Well, admittedly, sir, you are all fine people. I believe in keeping my money in Brokenbranch, and I want to be generous. You people seem to be generosity worthy, if you will. But I do care about my mind more than I care about most living people. It is how I built this place. It is how I brought industry to Brokenbranch. This town wasn't anything before Miss Loraine's. I've helped a lot of people with the money I've gotten out of that mine. And it's because I have taken very careful care of it over these years. And now all of a sudden, entire word of my mind has gone silent for a month. That is very concerning to me, sir. And it is worth the $5,000 investment it will take to send the 5 of you out there to look into it. Is that so hard to believe?
I am not by
Not at
nature
all.
a curious man, but I must admit, your overgenerosity has me curious about what might be happening at that mine. I accept.
You see, what we have here is what I like to call a capitalist. And in my estimation, no offense intended, madam, they have too much of their own money, and I will be happy to take my portion away from you in exchange for services. So,
well, it seems we have an accord then, everyone.
On a more practical point, what do you consider to be a sufficient conclusion to this adventure that we may get
Adventure.
paid?
That's charming. Adventure. Well, I want to know what's happening.
Let's say, for example, we get out there and we find that your entire mine has collapsed for some ungodly reason, and we return with that news. Would that be sufficient, or do you expect us to physically dig it out? Because, quite honestly, I don't think some of us here are necessarily capable of that level of physical exertion.
Of course, I certainly don't plan on you digging me a new mine. Honestly, if that's the case, then I'm sure that would be an easy $1,000 for you. But if there is something else going on out there, then I would love you to look into it. If not, if the mine has collapsed, certainly come on back. $1,000 is yours for the trip.
Fair enough.
By the way, speaking of payment, you are all welcome to shop in the town for any supplies that you may need. We have a nice general store. We have a munitions gunsmith. Anything that you may need, you can just tell them Miss Loraine sent you, and you should have your run of the mill. However, keep it reasonable, please. I do have a reputation to maintain. You are also welcome to spend the night here. It is quite late, and I'm sure you will like your strength for the road. I would like you to leave tomorrow as soon as possible, because, of course, Mr. Jones is on a schedule.
Looks around that's fine with me. Yeah.
And she would be like, Colin. And this little boy would run in. You're not even sure. No door has opened. Maybe he was in this room the whole time. You have no idea, but here he is again. And be like, Colin, be a dear and take my friends up to rooms. And she would think for a second. She'd be like, and she would lean to Colin. She's like, where's Serena? And he would say, 4. And he's like, rooms 1, 2, 3, 5, and 6, please. And this little boy would kind of just cross his arms and wait for you guys to follow him.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Miss Loraine, if it's not too much trouble, I would like to stay at my house tonight. There's things I have, and I'd like to pack and get ready for the journey.
Of course, I understand.
Oh, and do you have someone who works at the stables who could perhaps take care of my beasts there?
Oh.
It's headed out to my wagon still. I didn't have a chance to see to them before that, and I'd rather not leave them attached all night and
Of course.
them to be fed, watered, brushed.
Of course. Colin, and
for.
after you show my new friends to their rooms, have Jeremy run out and stable Mr. Black's horses. Anybody else have mounts you would like to freshen up for the journey? And she
I
would kind of
suppose-
smile at Mr. Calloway.
I suppose Miss Williams' room might be a bit too much if she's not using it for Eleanor Dumont. And there, I pause for just a moment, gauging to see if she bites. But my mule will need to be put up in the stable as well, since we are staying here, and I'll need to get my supplies off of her back. Now, when it comes to heading into town for a shopping list on an expedition such as this, I am more than willing to lend my expertise to anybody that might need it. It sounds like several pairs of sturdy cowhide gloves are going to be in line, specifically looking at Black and Jones.
And
Also,
Miss-
one last
yeah.
question, if I might bother you just
And
for one.
only now does Miss Loraine, for just a second, look a little annoyed, and she would kind of be like, "Yes."
While we are availing ourselves of our services, is it entirely necessary that I retire to my room alone?
And Miss Loraine would smile, and she would kind of like peek out. So there's the room that you're in is just sort of a doorway. It's not a closable door. And she would just sort of like lean out and look into the bar. And as you look past her, you see that there's a couple of girls standing near the corner of the bar, all like having drinks, and they're dressed in very bright colors. And it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out what their job is. And she'd be like, "I'm sure we can oblige you, Mr. Calloway."
And I just lean back in my chair with a smile.
Mhm. And yeah, with that, Colin,
As
would show you
Arcanus
guys-
gets up, he's
yeah.
he's going to say to Miss Williams, Miss Williams, I would like to invite you to ride with me tomorrow in my carriage. I have room for one more, and it's a very comfortable ride. I do enjoy my comfort as I travel hither and yon.
I would appreciate that. I do not have a horse of my own, so
Say no more. I'll you'll be my guest.
thank you.
And as you guys are kind of getting up, Miss Loraine would go over to Moses Jones and be like, "I didn't want to say anything in front of the others. I'm afraid you're they call him an automobile, correct?
Yes.
That's real scrubby brush out there. Rocky. Wouldn't do very well, unfortunately. I can hook you up with a horse, though."
I would be grateful.
And she would smile and nod. And with that, Colin would be like, "It is so far past my bedtime. Are you guys coming up to the rooms or not? It's a Wednesday. Miss Loraine, you said I'd be in by 2. It is currently 2:16 a.m. And
Oh.
Miss Loraine would look at him and just sort of giggle and would gesture for you guys to follow him.
Yeah, we'll go up to the rooms.
I don't know too many kids your age that can tell time to that level of accuracy, my boy. So
He is a very good student. I've taught him well. And as such, Colin, can you let the others know that there will be no school tomorrow?
And he would look at him and be like, yeah, I sure will. And he has this twinkle in his eye and he's like, I might not tell Jeremy. He'll show up, it'll be all alone. And then he just like runs off upstairs and just like, this way. And he would like call for you guys to come on up. You guys all make your way to your rooms. They're pretty cozy. As in rooms go, they are pretty well furnished. Like you're kind of constantly impressed at this place. Just when you're like getting used to one new vision, another one comes and you just keep thinking, wow, this is a really nice inn tavern. As you guys drift to sleep, you have a dream. You're standing out in the desert sun. It is very bright. It is very hot. In front of you, there is a cave, or maybe it's a mine. Moses Jones, in front of you, standing and facing you, you see Josiah. Standing next to Moses is Chick Calloway. Chick, you see a pretty woman in front of you. A woman that you know very, very well. At least you did a long time ago. You haven't seen her in a long time. Chick, you see your wife. Gus, you're standing next to Chick, a man that you barely know, but in front of you, you see a boy. And it's strange because this boy should be about your age by now, but he's not. He's a boy still, just the way you remember him. And he's wet. His clothes are soaking. And you see your friend, your best friend, a boy that you haven't seen in a long time, one you shouldn't be seeing now. Cassidy, you see a girl. Her hair is red like yours. Her eyes are like yours. Her face is like yours. So much like yours that people used to get you confused, especially when you were very young. This is your sister. Standing at the end of this line of people, Arcanus, you're standing next to Cassidy. You actually see two people. And they don't look the way that they looked when you saw them last time. They look healthy. Your father is tall and he has weight on him. Your mother has pink in her cheeks, very unlike the last time you saw her. All of these people look at you and there's no expression on their faces. You would think if they were to see you, there would be tears, there would be emotion, happiness, sadness, any emotion at all, but there's nothing. And as these people look at you, all of them speak at the same time. And they all say a phrase that is in a language that you don't know. They say unum solum. And then again, unum solum. Louder. Unum solum, unum solum, unum solum. And as you sit up in your beds, drenched with sweat, you can still hear the echo of unum solum, unum solum, unum solum. You have all had this dream, though obviously none of you know the others have had this dream. So what do you guys want to do today? As you wake up and get ready for this wonderful, glorious adventure you're about to go on.
Was that phrase in Latin by any chance?
Maybe. You don't know. It's a language you perhaps speak or perhaps don't.
Well, Arcanus has 10
I
has
know.
only has 10 in Latin.
Oh, I'll be damned. How about you make
Yeah.
a language roll under Latin?
Yeah. He just does mainly to hoodwink people into
Of
sounding
course.
smart. But no, 37, so it's a ways off.
Unfortunately, maybe you were able to tell that
yeah.
it's Latin, but can't tell. You don't remember.
Yeah.
It's been a long time since you've studied your Latin.
Yep.
Your nun teacher from school would have been really pissed.
I just checked my languages skill just out of curiosity.
Yeah.
I have a 1.
Yeah. That's
Anybody else? Anyway, you hear this phrase and you kind of can't stop thinking about it. It's sort of at the forefront of your thoughts. And if nobody's doing anything special that morning, I imagine you guys all kind of well, I mean, it is the root of all languages, Kaeryn. You all are kind of getting ready for the day. Does anybody want to stop and get some supplies before you're making your way out of town? It's still pretty early, but the shops are just starting to open. Miss Loraine mentioned there's a general store, a gunsmith. There's also a clothier's if you need gloves or anything.
yeah.
Lots of different-
Is there a chemist in town?
There is a doctor who kind of serves as the chemist.
All right. And if possible, he's wants to find out if anyone in town does photography.
That's a good question. We'll say that, let's see, who do we have in town? Who are the people of this place that I made up? We're gonna say that
Sometimes a store owner will double as that.
Absolutely.
They'll
I was just gonna say, actually, ironically, the Ramirez family who own the clothiers have a teenage daughter, and she dabbles in photography.
Okay. So I'll ask around and first I want to see if I want to sort of get some more of a flash powder, which is his stock in trade, but also maybe I'll arrange to get a photograph taken of the group before we set out.
Cool. Cool.
So he'll see if he can arrange to have her meet them over where his cart is parked, because I assume they'll sort of gather there before heading out of town.
Sort of. Sure.
And he'll pay in advance for that for her to meet them there at the right time.
Awesome. So yeah. So this clothier's is owned by the Ramirez family. You would know, or at least maybe Cassidy would know. Are you guys all there at once, or you said you arrange for everybody to go there? Tell you what we'll do. Does anybody else have anything they want to do before you meet Arcanus to get your pitch taken?
If anybody's whether or not anybody's interested, I have gotten up super early, gone and tended to Eleanor, loaded Eleanor up and brought her out front. And as the others come down, I basically have my entire kit laid out on the steps or the wooden sidewalk outside of this saloon. And partially because I need to make sure I have everything I need, but also assuming most, in fact, the only one I'm sure probably knows what he's doing is Augustus. But the others, it's more of like a passive display to say. In fact, I would even say, as whoever comes by first, just going, yeah, this looks like it's about everything I'm going to need. Sure hope the others got at least some gloves. Gonna need to make sure they got their own coffee and probably have an extra compass or two, mess kit. And I just start listing stuff off as because most of my stuff is kept packed on the back of Eleanor. I have like just a full camping and mining kit.
Awesome.
By the way, Mr. Calloway, we haven't been properly introduced. Arcanus Black. And he puts his hand out to you.
I kind of, though I haven't been handling anything that looks like it's messy, out of habit, I wipe my hand off before taking your hand.
He shakes it.
Chick Calloway.
Yeah. I have you may have heard that I am a purveyor of various medicines and tinctures and elixirs, and if you're interested, and he opens his jacket with, and there's like a little rattle of glass. You see a few bottles like in these little pockets in his thing. It's like I'd like to offer you a sample. For your own personal use, of course, and if you find that it helps you out, it wouldn't go amiss. Maybe spreading the word around where you got it.
From over Arcanus's shoulder, I try to catch Chick's eye, and if I do, I'm just kind of like.
So this is just like a little bottle, like a little stopper
it's
bottle.
a little mini, like one of those little mini little mini liquor bottles, about that size.
Yeah, I'll
one dose essentially. Yeah,
just basically take a look at it, and
yeah, you look. There's a little label on the side. It's kind of nicely written. It's handwritten, but you see that it contains cocaine, laudanum, opium.
stuff.
30% alcohol. That kind of stuff. Plus
thing,
a few other sort of Latin sounding herbal names that you don't necessarily recognize.
this ain't gonna make my dick fall off, is it?
And you see me back behind him, just like.
All right. Well,
quite the opposite.
Thank you, Mr. Black. I'll keep that in mind.
All right.
And I just tuck it in an inside in my shirt pocket and give it a little pat.
So you're a prospector, are you? What sort of minerals do you specialize in, if any?
Whatever I can find in the ground, specifically gold.
Well, that is everyone's goal, isn't it? The gold is the popular one these days.
Everybody's looking for it. Ain't nobody finding it quite like I have.
I do suspect that copper, however, is going to be the big big mineral in coming years. Have you seen what they've been doing with the electricity? There's some extraordinary things being done out east, and I think they use a great deal of copper wire. And if as that takes off, I think copper is going to be the next big valuable mineral. So my personal insight into that, I would keep an eye out for if you can get your hands on a copper mine. I think you'll do well in the future.
Right. Well, I'll be sure to take that under advisement, Mr. Black. Just kind of giving you that look of you would expect somebody who you just told how to do their own job to give you that kind of a look.
Amazing. Such a mansplainer. Cassidy and Moses Jones, what are you guys up to?
Would that be a mind-splainer? I got a pun in.
If I could give you inspiration, I would, but that doesn't exist in this game. Moses Jones and Cassidy Williams, what you up to?
So I think it's probably about that time when Cassidy will stride up. This time her hair is in a loose braid behind her back, and she is wearing pants. She's fully outfitted properly with high boots this time, still low heeled. But slung on her back is a rifle. Well oiled, well polished. It's a very nice looking gun. She has spent her morning going around getting ammo, stopping at the general store to pick up some provisions, as well as numerous amounts of like band-aids, like linens, cloths, various, basically getting a first aid kit together. So she's got things just in case, like her sewing kit. You may need to stitch people up. This is in a kind of a bag that's slung around her at her hip, across her shoulders and down by her hip. So she is definitely not looking like the school teacher she was yesterday.
All right. Awesome. Moses Jones.
Moses will be doing a few stops. He's got to pick up some provisions as well. He's got to stop at the gunsmith to buy some ammo. So he will come with a pack full of provisions.
Amazing. So eventually you all make your way actually to the Ramirez family clothiers. You would you would all have been, a lot of you have already been here today. Mateo and Mariana are the mother and father who own this business. Mariana does a lot of the sewing and the, what do they call, what is the name, hat making?
Haberdashery?
Millinery?
Or is it-
Yeah.
There's a lot of I's and L's. Anyway, or haberdashery. But this is far from like a nice haberdasher. But then they have two daughters. They have Julieta and Manuela. Julieta is the older girl, and she's the one who you would see to get your picture taken. And you would notice Mateo does not speak a word of English, and Mariana only slightly more so. So this girl, Julieta, does translate for her parents. And she would usher you kind of into this back room, and she would be like, please, come. And she would kind of invite you all to come back to get your picture taken. And she kind of has a big piece. It looks like maybe canvas up against this wall to kind of give it a good background. And she's like, I'm sorry. I know some of the photographers in the big cities have backgrounds. I do not, but you can get your
This is
picture taken.
fine. This is fine. Thank you.
And
So,
yeah, she would smile at you. She clearly likes you, Arcanus.
Yeah, Arcanus will sort of help arrange everyone. So, we'll have someone sitting, and Arcanus will be sort of standing at the back, his, in the sort of pose, kind of, looking toward the camera, because everyone, no one smiled in those times. Obviously, there was
Correct.
and you had to remain very still for a lot longer because of the picture. So, get everyone sort of set up and posed, and then we'll get our photograph taken.
Moses will politely decline the photo, preferring instead to allow the four of you to take the photo together.
Are you sure this could be a monumental occasion? Should something happen to us, this
I've seen monuments, never before in a photograph.
And
the way
at
of the
this,
future.
Julieta would kind of roll her eyes, and she would say something under her breath in Spanish, and she clearly, just by her body language, you can tell she does not like Moses. She is delighted to get to take your picture today. She's probably taken everybody's picture in town, so it's all gotten kind of boring, but a lot of you are new people, so it's kind of exciting for her. And she takes your picture.
I want to say one thing.
Oh, well, please.
Cassidy is going to let her, be part of the picture. She is going to be part, but at the most, I guess, just at the right time, she moves slightly, so her face is somewhat obscured, partially by a shoulder or an elbow or something as the photos being taken.
I do ensure that there is a fifth individual in the photo, because I am standing there with Eleanor Dumont.
I imagine Chick is like the last guy to the party, and you hear him go, oh, and you see him like gently leading Eleanor, what's her last name?
Eleanor
Keep wanting
Dumont.
to say Rigby. Eleanor Dumont gently, carefully into this room. And you've spent a lot of money. Well, they're going to get paid at the Ramirez's this morning, so they're more than willing to let Eleanor Dumont into the back room.
Perhaps we could let Eleanor wear Mr. Jones's hat.
Oh God.
Perhaps not.
I would not deign to sully Miss Eleanor's mane.
And Julieta is smiling and laughing, and this is clearly the most fun she's had in a while. And Cassidy, how long have you been a school teacher here?
It's been about I think I said 5 years.
Yeah. So you by the time when you were here, Julieta was about 10. So you taught her for maybe 12 years, and she's a good girl. And specifically with you, she's happy to take your picture, and she clearly likes Arcanus. And so she's all excited, and and she would get you all together and she'd say decir queso, and she would like take your picture. And for the sake of time, I don't know how quickly pictures like a tin type would develop, but we'll say it's instantly just for the sake of us. And she would pull it out, and has this little like sheet of tin kind of almost, and she would look at it, and she would kind of still be laughing with you guys and laughing at the donkey in the back of the room. And then all of a sudden, as she's looking at this tin type, her face almost goes white. And she has this just beautiful Hispanic skin. So you can just tell it's like, it's stunning. And she's like, she looks at it and her face just drops and it's horrified. And she's like,
oh, did it not come out?
Dios mío. And she like starts like talking under her breath in just terrified Spanish. And she's like, yes, see, it did not come out.
It's all right. We can take it when we get back. It is
Moses, who was not in the photo, would like to try and sneak a peek at what she doesn't want the others to see.
And you would hear like various Spanish words under her breath. Thanks, Jake. Moses Jones, make a spot hidden check. She is clearly trying to keep this hidden from you guys.
Okay.
I'm gonna say make it at, what is advantage in this, Alex? I forget.
you get a bonus. You can have 1 or 2 bonus dice.
Bonus die. So take a bonus die, Gary. That means you roll the tens die of
An
your
extra
D100
10 die. Yeah.
I
twice.
got an extreme success.
Okay, so you definitely see this picture. In fact, I would say, you are a Pinkerton. You are clearly a very uncharming man. So I imagine that as Julieta is kind of almost like getting ready to very quickly leave this room, you would like whap, like you'd pick the tin type right out of her hand. And as you look at this tin type, you see your happenstance companions, including Eleanor Dumont. And they are standing the way they were standing in the picture, but they look a little bit different. Their eyes are gone. They are sunken. There are oversized, dark spots where their eyes should be. Their jaws appear to be wide, supernaturally wide, too wide. And that is also a void of black. Their faces, all of them, don't even look more or less like human faces anymore. They almost look like skulls, including Eleanor Dumont.
As he's looking at this thing, he's going to say, sort of almost reflexively, he's going to say, there are more things in heaven and earth, Horatio, than are dreamt of in your philosophy.
And on that note, we're going to close out the first session of The Darkness Outside of Brokenbranch.
Do we get our first sanity check?
No, yes! I forgot sanity's a thing in this game. Do it. Thank you, Alex. That.
I think seeing that's probably
dunk.
worth a sanity check.
Slam dunk.
Sorry, Gary. But,
No, please do. Yes. Thank you. The assist. All right, everybody, sanity checks.
Is it just?
Well, I didn't. I think
Gary,
only Gary saw it.
Yeah, just Gare Bear.
All right, great.
You guys are happy. You got your picture taken.
78. That is not a success, I don't think.
Gary, you are gonna take 5 points of sanity damage.
Okay.
Gary's first sanity damage, everybody. Congratulations, Gary.
Welcome to the club.
And on that note, we are going to end our first session of The Darkness Outside of Brokenbranch. Thank you guys so much. It was amazing. You did great. Alex, thank you for suggesting taking a picture. As soon as you said that, I was like, yes. Wonderful job, you guys. Thank you so much.
I think chat, everybody needs to start spamming emotes to Cari for an incredible first time in the
Yeah, that was
DM
awesome.
seat, in the game master seat as the keeper, already creating such a rich, wonderful world. This is amazing. And as always, with everybody here, no doubt that this is going to be incredible. Such dynamic characters that every one of us gets along instantly, making for a totally cohesive adventure, right?
One that will never ever fight and definitely not murder each other.
Yes, because we would not ever shoot each other.
Never.
Yeah.
I don't know if
That's
that's ever
crazy.
happened.
Never, never, never.
Guys, thank you.
Um,
I'm overjoyed. My heart is full.
No, this is amazing. And I know there were some questions in the chat. This is a monthly game, with the plan to be around the second Wednesday of the month, I believe. But we will keep everybody apprised when we will have our next session. But it will be right around that second Wednesday of October, is what we're currently planning for.
October 12th.
October 12th. Excellent. I didn't know we had already agreed to that. So fantastic. Or Dwight's
That's
just
when
telling
Kaeryn
us.
is free. She blocks that off for
Okay.
us.
Fantastic. I appreciate it. So yeah, thank you to everybody who tuned in. Thank you Dimension 119 or 119 for, I can't remember which way you like it said. Regardless, thank you for the raid. And thank you for Fluffy for our domain tome, our mythos, our domain die, our mythos die up there.
You really shouldn't have named them all differently, because there's no way you're going to make it through all of these games.
No, I don't know why I keep punishing myself this way. Oh, look at that. Carrie's gifting us.
Thank you guys for making my first
A
session
mythos die
amazing.
for
I
next
love
session.
you. There's a thing
Nice.
for you.
So
Doom token.
Yeah. So yeah, Doom token. Who
Hashtag.
I don't remember who called them that, but
Yeah, that's weird.
but yeah. So yeah, also we can I hope to see you all here tomorrow, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, for another session of the Dawnbringers in our continuing game there. And of course you can look at that, they're just rolling in now. Thank you, everybody. The end
I
of the
greased the
stream.
wheels.
Yesterday
Yeah.
we had a level 3 hype train before we started the session. Tonight we're getting a hype train at the end of the session. It's awesome. Thank you all so much. We appreciate that. In just a moment, we are going to send a raid over to our friend Cypher of Tyr, who appears to be playing some Street Fighter. So be cool when you get over there. Send the MTD love when we kick that raid off. Again, Cari, fantastic job. Thank you so much for putting this together, and I look forward to see where the story goes. A shout out to any of our audience who likes to lurk in the chat, and you just hang out and listen. We appreciate you all the same. Just thank you to everybody who is a part of this. Thank you, Cari, Gary, Alex, Kaeryn, and Dwight, without whom this just would have been Cari talking to herself for a couple of hours.
Oh,
So with that, we are going
Achievement
to end
unlocked.
this stream the same way we end every stream. And you can say it with me if you want.
I don't want to.
Ta-da!